to see you again, Simon and Ruth, on a Friday morning. This is This Morning. Before the break, we were showing you how Cecil the Lion was hunted and killed. That's a year ago today since all of that broke.
That seems to have gone very quickly that year. I remember sitting here talking about that the very next day.
What's changed?
What has changed? We wonder. Well, we're joined now by two women with two very different perspectives on hunting. We have animal hunter Olivia Opre, she is in Montana in the USA, and Born Free founder Virginia McKenna. Good to have you both here this morning. Virginia, let's start with you, because we spoke to you when this story broke a year ago today, and you were very, very upset. A year on, has anything changed because of Cecil's story? Because it went worldwide, people seem very shocked by it. A lot of people were talking about it, and with social media particularly. Do you feel anything's changed?
Yes, I think one aspect of it has hugely changed. Another has probably stayed the same. But the one that's changed is the interest and the focus of the general public. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said, oh, I didn't realise hunting still went on. And I said, well, where have you been all your life? Of course it still goes on, and it's increasing. That's the bit that actually is the same, the hunting's going on. But the change is that a huge amount of public opinion has been expressed by very well-known people, such as Ricky Gervais, Amanda Holden, to name a couple. But the general public, which is the core of it, are absolutely horrified.
But being horrified is one thing, but getting something done about it is something else. And we could all go on Twitter and say, isn't this terrible?
Yes.
But because of Cecil's story, legally, has anything been done? Has anything changed? Has anything changed in the hunting community? Do they now see that this public outcry has maybe made them think twice?
I'm not sure I can answer that question because I'm not a part of the hunting community, but I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that it's changed there. But I think it has given the whole profile of this issue in such an enormous way that at the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, which is happening in September in Johannesburg, we are going to raise this issue, because it's no good saying, as the hunters do, that they're helping conservation of species by killing them. In fact, there are only 20,000 lions left in the whole of Africa now.
Okay, well, let's Virginia go and speak to Olivia, and there she is in Montana. She joins us now by satellite. Olivia is a hunting consultant. You have killed, I understand, approximately 90 species of animals across 6 continents since you took up the sport at a very young age, 16 years of age. And we're talking about what's changed, and I presume, Olivia, what's changed is public opinion and the mood of public opinion towards this. And you guys have had to change as a result, because you would go very big. You wouldn't like the terms trophy hunter or blood sporting. You want to be known as a conservationist now, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it's evident in all the things that we do that we are conserving wildlife. I mean, the IUCN just filed a briefing with the EU declaring that trophy hunting delivers benefits to both wildlife and the people alike. The facts state, according to Southwick Associates, that $426 million annually is what's spent by 18,000 hunters a year, creating 53,000 jobs. But we got to come back to the point of, if there isn't an intrinsic value on an animal, that the indigenous people of Africa will have no incentive to protect them. They see them as a job. They see hunting as a job, but also if the hunting is taken away, they see creatures like lions a huge threat to their livestock and to their children. Subsequently, they'll poison a water hole or a carcass, which will ultimately affect not just the lion that was eating their livestock or their children, but every creature that comes in contact with it. And that's something that the anti-hunting community doesn't quite grasp.
Okay. Well, you are amongst the patron saint of the anti-hunting community, really, in the form of Virginia McKenna. But the interesting thing is, you don't see this, of course, as murder. You've just made your case very articulately there. But hunting, you almost see as a spiritual thing. When an animal is killed, you in the past have said that it's almost a spiritual experience. Tell me about that.
The pursuit of an animal takes you incredible places. Tears and sweat and challenges that you can't imagine that you can face and overcome. The actual kill of an animal is 5% of the journey. But when I kill an animal, I walk up to the animal and with great and deep respect, place my hand on his face and thank him for his life. Because I have chosen a very old animal, which will feed either my family, or if I cannot import the meat, it'll feed the indigenous people of the area. Nothing, absolutely nothing goes to waste. I am not ISIS. I'm not chopping off heads and declaring victory. This is a journey, and this is ultimately about preserving our world's great wildlife.
What about the trophy side of it? Do you take the heads and mount them on the wall in your home as your trophy?
I do have taxidermy in my home, and for me, every time I look at them, it's God's art. It's the memory of being in that situation and appreciating that animal in the wild. Furthermore, the meat that it put in my freezer.
Hello, YouTube. Okay, let's get back to Virginia. I'm sure you'll have a lot to say about that. So she sees that as it's conservation. They always go for an older animal that would maybe be near death anyway. The meat is used. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone who's seen the photographs of Cecil would say that he was tottering towards the end of his life. He was the most magnificent animal. He had sired 2 litters of cubs in his pride. He lived with his brother, who took over the cubs when Cecil was killed, thank God. Otherwise, a strange lamb would have come in and killed the cubs so he could establish his own genes. So it may have been a fantastic journey for yourself and your friends, but for the animal who's killed, it's the end of their journey. And this is what I absolutely resent. That people who are just at the end of a rifle for some perhaps amazing experience for them would end the life of any animal. Whether you can eat it or not eat it is not the point. And the other point I would like to make about the amount of dollars that are coming into the community wherever the hunt is taking place to benefit the people, I have learned that actually, in spite of the many, many thousands and thousands of dollars the hunting community puts in Kenya alone, $1 billion per year is put into the local community, and there is no hunting in Kenya. It banned hunting in the 70s. So I dispute many things.
And at the end of the day, Olivia, you're different. You're different from most people in the world, actually, because most people who are getting in touch with us today are appalled by what you're saying there. Have you ever had a pet? Have you ever had an animal? Because if you have, people would find it very difficult to understand how you could end its life, or you could end the life of an animal if it wasn't threatening your life, or you weren't putting it out of misery. That is the difference. Never mind the money and the communities that are surviving on this money or whatever it is. It's as Virginia is saying, you're ending a life. Why? That makes you different.
So let's take the case of Cecil. You have an animal who is 13 years of age. He was legally killed. The media sensationalized it and turned it into an incredible story. But ultimately, Walter Palmer paid over $50,000 to hunt that animal, 13 years of age, who was past his prime. That's what we want to select, is what's past his prime. Furthermore, the money that he paid goes back into those local communities, and of which goes into anti-poaching efforts. And there is a huge difference between poaching and hunting, and that's where the disconnect is. But let's go back to Kenya. Kenya's populations of wildlife plummeted by 60 to 70%. 15 years ago, lions were at 15,000. Now they're 2,000. In the 70s, elephants were at 167,000. Now they're at 30,000. So you take away hunting, you take away the incentive for the people to protect those animals. Look at neighboring Tanzania. Wildlife is flourishing and hunting continues.
I need to let Virginia answer that. Do you believe that if you take away hunting, you stop people helping the local people to conserve the animals they have left?
Well, I can't agree with virtually anything, really, I'm afraid. The thing is that as far as the lessening of population of lands in Kenya is concerned, one has eliminated the aspect of poaching. Poaching is actually contributing the most horrendous loss of life, both for elephants and lions, because lion parts are being used in China to replace tiger bone and all that side of things. So it's not just hunting. I'm not saying it's only hunting, but it's the connection between enjoyment of death, enjoyment of killing, a fantastic older animal, and as I said earlier, he was looking fantastic in spite of his age. How dare we take away a life just because it's old?
Well, we asked at the start of this item, Olivia, what has changed since the death of Cecil a year ago? You're saying very little, and I presume the message is people like yourself and what you do in your industry is not going away. Is that the message?
Oh, absolutely. But it's not just me that has determined that. It's several foreign countries outside of Africa that agrees that trophy, I consider it conservation hunting, gives back so much to the preservation of wildlife, habitat, and indigenous people. And Virginia and I will never see eye to eye on that, but we do see eye to eye that poaching is a huge problem. And this is driven by the Asian markets. And personally, I abhor poaching. Poaching is the opposite of what I do.
Olivia, thank you for giving us your view.
Appreciate it, Olivia. Thank you very much.
Virginia, just final word. What would you like Cecil's legacy to be?
I would like Cecil's legacy to be the banning of all trophy hunting from whichever country it originates in, whether it's America, and we mustn't only blame American people for that. Of course, in Europe, people go sport hunting, trophy hunting, which I do like to call it still, or from the Far East. Any animal that's taken just because it happens to be beautiful, doesn't have to be old, it just has to be wonderful, so that people can have the skin on the floor, on the back of the chair, or the head on the wall, and show how brave they are. I think it is not humane, and it makes me ashamed of being human, if that's how we behave.
Virginia McKenna, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. He's this morning's news film star we sent right.